have a story time about the time that I showed up to work and I didn't know it was going to be my last day. Ended up quitting. Ended my teaching journey in 5th grade. I do want to start off by saying that the delay in the story was I just needed time to process, to heal, just to allow me to get me together. Next is a lot of the details in the story will be left out to uphold and just maintain professionalism and validity, but let's get into it. So I will no longer be, most of you have guessed, I will no longer be teaching 5th grade anymore. I honestly always thought 5th grade would be my forever home. When I started, my principal, the story of me getting hired on is literally crazy, and nobody but God. A lot of you did guess correctly. I will no longer be teaching 5th grade. I will still be teaching. There are multiple variables that go into the reason why I chose to resign. However, I did choose to resign my teaching position before I had anything else. I knew that I wanted to teach, and I knew that I was meant to be a teacher, and I knew that more than likely I would be doing that. I just knew that I could no longer do it in that environment. Bottom line, my partner teacher and I had a little bit of a difficult year. We peanut butter and jelly. We were literally peanut butter and jelly. We'd laugh about it all the time. Typically, your type A and your type B, they don't mesh, or sometimes they do, but I was type A, she's type B, and literally in sync. It didn't matter, but we were okay with those differences. And so those differences became a little bit more difficult for me. In learning more about myself and learning me as a teacher and as well as a person, a lot of people don't realize as teachers, we are literally trained to compartmentalize. We show up to work every single day, whether we're full or feeling empty, and we give our all. And as a perfectionist, that can be very, very, very difficult with so many different variables. Literally, classroom and school education is like a system. So many different parts. While I'm discovering those things about myself as a person and as a new teacher, and then still going through the day-to-day, she's going through the day-to-day, I think it just became a lot. And I got to the point where the things that were different from what I needed to thrive, the organization, the expectations, the differences in management, they began to give me anxiety. And so for me, I struggle with having aught with anyone. I don't like not being good with someone. You don't have to like me, but I don't want there to be an issue. And if there is, I'm really, really, really big about communication. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. And if we can't agree, we can agree to disagree and come to some kind of common term. Reached out and we talked multiple times, but for me, it just was not getting any better. And I want to keep stressing me, because as a reflective person, I want to put it on me, because it's my desire and what I need to thrive. If someone else, it might be completely different based on what they prefer. And so I became so anxious and just overwhelmed that I felt like I couldn't control my anxiety. And if I'm being transparent without being too transparent, because some things I'm not completely ready to share yet. And so I'm questioning, what's going on with me? Is it what's wrong with me? It's just being a perfectionist and being reflective. You are literally, if you are a perfectionist, you're always trying to figure out what can I do better? And that's not me just saying it for social media, for likes, but literally for the people who struggle with anxiety, and you are a perfectionist at the same time, so you give your all and yet you still feel like, okay, what can I do more of? What can I do better? So, and in me being reflective, I'm like, okay, this is year 2 for us. It has to be me. Then going back to the system, though this is year 2 for us, again, putting it back on me, I'm not the same person I was last year. I'm every day, not just saying it again for likes and for social media, but every day I'm trying to be better. I'm actively in therapy. I talk about therapy all the time. There are some things I'm not willing to share, but therapy is something that I'm very vocal about. And then humbly, in me being a perfectionist, humbly, I will never feel like I have arrived, because that's the beauty of teaching and learning, is there's always room to grow. However, I will say I was less dependent. I got in my grounds and I got my groove, and I knew how I wanted to do things for me to thrive best. And so the differences in management and just the structure became overwhelming for me. What makes those things even worse is because people with anxiety, what's hard about it is, as much as people desire to validate your feelings by telling you, you can't worry about the things you can't change, or don't focus on that. None of those tactics, none of those sayings, none of those things help. They don't help. And so I think that, just me growing as a teacher and being less dependent, learning more about myself, knowing what I need to thrive, finding joy and comfort in being organized and being timely and being orderly and having those high expectations, that's what I needed. And so what can I do to get both things? And I did not want to leave. I will say this before I continue. My leadership, the horror stories I see on social media is frightening and very discouraging. But I am so grateful that I did not have that testimony. I don't have that testimony. My principal, my administration, left on good terms, of course, because I don't like having art with people. I was fearful because the grass is not always greener on the other side. So I know what I need, and I know what I can't do again. I know what I can't go through again. But what if I'm leaving 1 for 10? My level of anxiety, can I not get it? Again, being a perfectionist, beating myself down. You're in therapy. You're working on your anxiety. You're trying to be reflective. And so my internal struggle, it began to be shown a little bit more outward. Whereas for example, my planning time was no longer let's chit chat. It was me reflecting, me decompressing. My classroom was no longer my happy place. I wanted to go early, but doors closed, lights off every day, which you guys saw. Any free time I had, I wanted to be alone because I felt like every idle moment I had, I was decompressing. And that was difficult for me because something that I felt like I couldn't change about me was altering a relationship. And on a further level is, again, compartmentalizing. A lot of people don't realize the magnitude of the things that they say. So at this time when I'm feeling all of these things, people often say, I didn't do all that. Or you're extra. Oh gosh, here she goes. And those things, I used to laugh them off, but I realized at night, those were the things I was hearing. I was extra, or I was a lot. And I'm not going to be that girl that cries on camera. Hold on. So I'm wrestling with it because I know that I want to be here, but I know what I'm feeling and I know what I'm going through. And so I prayed, and I just felt like I know God told me to stay. So returned to work after a few days, just taking some time, and closing out the last day of school. We had a meeting, and it did not go the best. Again, putting it on me a lot. I was heavy, and I will take the fact that I was heavy. With me being heavy, it wasn't impulsive, but I knew I can't do this again. After talking with my principal, again, left on amazing terms, I let her know, I don't want you to be waiting on me, so I will go ahead and resign so you can fill the spot. And that day, I took down my classroom, not knowing where I was going to go, what I was going to do. But I knew I had to take care of me. Even if people didn't understand, even if I didn't understand why these things were making me anxious, why the difference of management or the difference of expectations and the levels. Even though I didn't understand any of those things, I understood I cannot feel like this. And my constant prayer is that God never allows the flame that I have for education to be gone. I always want it burning. And I had to make a decision, a hard decision. And so I left. I decided I was going to leave. This part, again, is so much shorter and lighter. But a lot of tears. Very, very hard decision. And especially in being a perfectionist, I'm a planner. And I did not know what I was doing. But I knew that my decision was not impulsive. And I knew that my God telling me that I needed to stay, in that moment, it was so some things could be revealed before I left. About 3 weeks before all of this, before I prayed, just in prayer. I saw a high school position was open, and I drafted the email to the principal directly. She was one of my professors in my undergraduate program for my bachelor's. And I drafted the email, but I never sent it, and it was in the drafts. So that Friday, I was like, you know what? What do you got to lose? My elementary school was connected closely to a middle school, and so they had a inner position that hadn't been posted yet. I reached out to that principal, and I was like, no, I'm gonna wait. And something just said, you know what do you have to lose? Send it. Friday, y'all. Friday. Here comes Monday morning, Memorial Day, which happens to be my granddad's birthday. And apparently Miss C's birthday too. If you're watching this, Miss C, happy late birthday again. Nobody but God. So on Memorial Day, I got a call that morning, and I recognized it was my school district number, but I thought it was the actual office. It was the principal that I decided to send that email to. I was like, hey, I know it's a holiday. Don't think I'm crazy, but I got your email. Do you think you could come in today? I have trainings the rest of the week. I have my god baby, but hey, I'm like, okay, I could be there. I was like, yes, I can come. Mind you guys, I had just been down in the dumps. That Monday was my first day putting on, I'm not gonna be that girl, hold on. That Monday was my first day putting on makeup, putting on clothes. So I'm getting ready, and I open my garage to leave. It's storming. I'm like, come on, God. Mind you, let me back up. Kiera Sheard, I did not just post. A lot of times, this is a great time to talk about this, because y'all know I'm saying it humbly. A lot of times I will see, and I never thought I would even be able to say this, because like, I don't just say it, but like literally little old me. If you knew, small town, shy girl. But I noticed that people will take things sometimes and copy them, and they don't even realize what they're using it for, or what you used it for. Like, I noticed a few some creators, not that I'm the only teacher that does ASMR, but my mannerisms or the way I do it. I purposely have been using the floral bouquet, because that's what I'm speaking over myself for this year, blooming and blossoming. And it goes deeper, and I've talked about it if you follow my page. It's little things, but anyway, I'm saying that to say, anyone who knows me knows that I've been in love with Kiera Sheard for as long as forever. And her song Rain came out May 9th, the day that I graduated. And God has just been showing me so many different ways. This is the year of bloom and blossom for you. And it's like so many in that last 3 weeks of school. It's like it was just pounding. I was talking to someone, and I was like, you know, I literally feel like a blueberry, and like I have books on top of me, and it's for one more book. So I open the garage. It's storming to go to the interview. And I didn't know then. So I get to the interview. Shortly after I walk in, the assistant principal, he's a guy, and he says, yeah, interview's closed Friday, but she saw your email, she had missed it Friday, and she said, let's interview one more. Let's interview one more. And before I went to the interview, I said, on my way, I was like, you know what, I'm not accepting inside. My previous job, the school that I was leaving, I told you guys it was very ironic. And when I went, before I even saw the principal, she offered me the position. And if you know in education, they tell you if that happens, don't do it. But it just was a God moment. So in the interview, she said, do you have any more interviews? And I said, well, I have one Thursday talking about the school connected to my school, my old school. I said, I have one Thursday. And she was like, well, if we offered you the job, would you still go? And I said, I do, because the thing about that job was that it was 7th grade. And so my first 5th grade babies, they would be mine again. And I know they would freak when they saw me on that schedule. I was like, I was iffy about the environment, and still wanting a fresh start, but I was thinking about my babies, my first year kiddos. That's what I told her in the interview. But when I left, and by the time I made it home, mind you, another blessing in it, literally 5 minutes from my house. I left the interview, and by the time I made it home, I'm like, that's it. I don't need any more interviews. I don't need any more schools. I'm supposed to be there. Thank you, Annie. in the interview, she says, okay, well, I'll call you later today, in about an hour or so. I never say in the interview, but I'll call you and let you know if we're offering you the job or just if we chose to go with the other candidates. Okay. 5 o'clock hits. I know it's a holiday, but it's past business hours. Anxious. Along with Kiara Shared Rain, I've been listening to Paul and Silas by Maverick City Music. And so I just was listening to Rain all day, listening to Paul and Silas. And I said, I'm going to stay hopeful. Tuesday, all day. She told me she had trainings. And I said, no, I know it. Tuesday, she called and offered me the job. Oh, mind you, Anxious Annie had her AirPods in for the entire day. The minute I put them down to go use the restroom is when I got the call. Of course. You are looking at the newest 9th grade Algebra 1 teacher. So many God moments, y'all. The 7th grade science was connected to that other environment, and it was science. My passion is math. I never realized how much I loved math until I became a math teacher. The connections that God blesses me to make, sometimes it's in the moment while I'm teaching, and I have to catch myself like, ooh, but I'll be teaching, and it's like, so I knew I wanted math again. God gave me so much and more. On my granddad's birthday, I got what I didn't know I needed. Yet again, similar to vlogging, I started with OOTDs, and it became an outlet for me, therapeutic. I never, 5th grade was my jam. It was my home. And had I not felt like I had to go, it was a lot to endure. It was hard. I'm still feeling like I'm dealing with the emotions of it. It feels like a heartbreak, even though I know I'm getting better. And not that the campuses or the administration, none of that, but better for me to thrive. Again, pointing it back at me. God knew what he was doing, and he always does. So hang on. Guys, honestly, if you didn't get anything else from story time, trust God. And what I will say is the difference in this valley experience that I'm coming out of is that even when I felt down and I was crying, I continued to worship and praise like I knew he would do it. And that's so hard. Sometimes the praise, nothing was coming out. God was having to read my heart because I didn't have it. But you worship God instead of crying like you don't have any hope. You praise God like he did it while you see just dark, and watch. Just watch. So I cannot wait to vlog. Y'all know I'm gonna vlog it. Whole classroom. I know people are wondering, same theme. It's older kids. I don't know. We gonna figure it out together, y'all. Bye.